So we hear a lot about a manufacturing execution system, or MES, being the digital brain of a factory. But what does that actually mean? How does it work day to day? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to follow the life of a single production order, all the way from a business plan to a finished product rolling off the line. I mean, that's the fundamental question in all of manufacturing, right? How do you take a plan from a spreadsheet and turn it into something real, something you can hold? To figure that out, let's make the production order the hero of our story today. Think of it like a digital messenger, tasked with carrying a mission-critical plan from the office all the way to the factory floor. All right, so where does our story begin? You might think it's on the factory floor, but nope, the journey actually starts way before that. It kicks off inside the company's Enterprise Resource Planning System, the ERP. You can think of the ERP as the brain of the entire business, making all the big picture decisions. So what is this production order we're following? Well, at this stage, it's basically a command. It's a high-level directive from the ERP that says something like, okay, team, we need to make this specific product, we need exactly this many, they need to follow this general process, and the deadline is this date. It's the critical what, how much, and when. And this is the first crucial handoff. It's just like a relay race. The ERP, having set the strategy, passes the baton to the MES. See, the ERP knows the business goal, the what, but the MES, that's the specialist. It's the system that speaks the language at the factory floor and knows how to get it done. Okay, this translation step is where the real magic happens. The MES takes that high-level what from the ERP, make 1,000 widgets, and starts breaking it down into the nitty-gritty operational how. It's kind of like going from an architect's beautiful blueprint to the super detailed step-by-step instructions the construction crew actually needs. So the process is pretty straightforward at this point. The ERP issues the command, and the MES immediately gets to work, just deconstructing the whole thing. It's not looking at an order for 1,000 units and seeing one big job. No way. It sees thousands of tiny, individual tasks, specific operations, and critical quality checks that all have to happen in a precise order. And just look at the level of detail we're talking about. The MES isn't just vaguely assigning work. It is creating an exact, foolproof recipe for production. It figures out which exact production line is best, the specific steps for every single workstation, what tools and materials are needed, and even builds in all the quality checks that have to happen along the way. It's incredibly thorough. All right, the plan is locked and loaded. Now our production orders journey finally moves onto the factory floor. This is where the digital world of the MES meets the physical world of people and machines. The plan is about to become a real, tangible product. And down here on the floor, you've got these two parallel conversations happening constantly, in real time. On one hand, the MES is talking to the human operators, giving them clear digital work instructions step by step. On the other hand, it's listening to the machines, automatically grabbing data like cycle completions, sensor readings, alarms, you name it. And because it's having both of these conversations at the same time, the MES has this perfectly complete, live, up-to-the-second picture of the entire production line. Seriously, nothing happens that the system doesn't know about as it's happening. While all this work is going on, the MES is also playing the role of a super meticulous historian. It's recording everything, the serial number of every component that goes in, every tiny process parameter like torque or temperature, and every single test result. All of this data builds what we call a product genealogy. It's literally a complete birth certificate for every single item that gets made. Now look, collecting all this data is great, but that's only half the story. Using that data, that's where the EMS gets its real power. All this information creates an immediate feedback loop. It lets supervisors make smart decisions right on the spot, not waiting for a report at the end of the shift when it's already too late. So, how does this actually help a supervisor on the floor? Well, think about the questions they're always asking. Like, is a workstation becoming a bottleneck? Without this real-time data, a little slowdown could go completely unnoticed until it snowballed into a huge problem. But with an MES, the answer to that question is right there, right now. And a simple dashboard like this makes the answer crystal clear. You can see in a split second, hey, Station A is crushing it, they're above target. But whoa, Station B is falling behind.
A supervisor sees that, walks right over to Station B, and can solve the issue immediately before it backs up the entire line.
So at any given moment, the MES can provide a perfect live snapshot of how our production order is doing. It knows exactly how many units are finished, how many are still in progress, the pass/fail counts from quality checks, and precisely what's left to do. And this live status, it gets fed right back up to the ERP, keeping the high-level business plan totally in sync with reality. Okay, so our production order is getting close to the finish line. Its journey is almost complete. Let's take a step back now and talk about why. Why is this whole detailed, data-driven, controlled process so incredibly valuable for a manufacturer? And here we are, the final step. As soon as the very last part in that order passes its final inspection, the MES officially closes out the order. And that complete digital history, that product genealogy we mentioned, gets archived and locked. It's now a permanent, tamper-proof record of that product's entire creation. So let's just quickly recap that whole journey. It starts with the ERP releasing the order. Then the MES plans the detailed workflow. The operators and machines on the floor execute that plan. As they do, the MES analyzes all the data in real time. And finally, that information is sent back up to the ERP. It's a perfect, continuous loop of instruction, action, and feedback. And what's the payoff for this whole cycle? Well, you get accurate execution because everyone knows exactly what to do. You get real-time visibility so you can squash problems the second they appear. You get full traceability, which is huge for quality control. It all adds up to consistent quality and KPIs, key performance indicators, that you can actually rely on. You know, this quote really nails it. This whole process, it's not just about managing a to-do list. It's about achieving true end-to-end digital control over the entire factory, from that very first signal from the business plan, all the way to the last finished unit coming off the line. When you think about it, that locked digital record the MES creates, it's really the product's life story. It tells you where every single piece came from, every action that was performed on it, and every test it passed along the way. It's a story of quality, a story of accountability, and it leaves us with a really important question. Do you know how to read it? And that question is the perfect setup for our next explainer. We're going to dive much deeper into that very story by exploring the crucial ideas of traceability and genealogy. Hope you'll join us for that one.